Hello and welcome to Monday Marks. My name is Sharon Saccone and I'm a mixed media artist. And I'm a little curious today. How many paintings do you have tucked away because you thought they were failures? Well, I certainly have an entire box of them. And today I'm just pulling out one work of art, actually two, but done at the same time. And I'm just asking the question, what if I just changed one thing? And that's what this is all about. Taking our unfinished work and readdressing what it was that we were originally trying to accomplish, and then figuring out how could I either add one thing or maybe remove one thing, and how will that change my artwork to be more successful and possibly bring it to a place of completion. So I'm hoping today you'll come along on this little journey and look at these two works of art. And these are two works that I have actually created a video about before when I was working on some additional abandoned artwork and completely changing them by adding stripes. At the time, they were okay, but I never really did anything with them. I never took them any further. So today, that's what I'm doing. So if you missed that video, please feel free to stop here, watch that one first, and then see how I address that today as a work of art that was abandoned again. This next strategy just might be my favorite one because it really comes down to what was it that I'm trying to accomplish. So I want you to imagine that you are writing a one-sentence artist statement for the piece of art that you're working on. And you're going to complete the sentence, "This artwork explores." So I actually have two pieces here. I have, and they're both, I was exploring the exact same thing. So I might deal with how I work with them differently, but I'm going to write this sentence based on both because I was really exploring the exact same thing. So this artwork that we're looking at right here, I had set out to explore the use of line, to discover direction. And what I mean by that was, I feel like I always loved vertical rather than horizontal. And I did discover that. So I was looking at line to discover direction. And how to create variety in line to develop unity and interest. So that's my artist statement. So this artwork explores the use of line to discover direction and how to create variety in line to develop unity and interest. So the next thing is I need to ask myself, does this artwork communicate that idea? Well, I certainly, for myself, discovered I really do, I am drawn to vertical. Horizontal is, to me, more landscape. Vertical, if I'm working with something that is non-representational, just feel like it's stretching and growing. And I think about like fields and stems and trees and all those vertical things that are uplifting. So yes, that part of my statement is definitely communicated here, at least for me, maybe not for you. But is there anything distracting me from this message? Absolutely. I think when I originally was working on this, I was thinking that, this would be some interesting variety within the line, and I was allowing that to show through. But when I step away and come back to this work, I find these elements are very distracting. And I think I might have even put some in on purpose, and I don't like it. I'm also finding that these lines in the background I thought would be interesting, but I'm finding them distracting as well, especially because they're moving in an opposite direction. So that is definitely distracting from my message. And I want to think about, is this worth continuing? Am I continue to work on it because I'm uncertain about my idea? I think I want to work on it because I want to take it further, because I really haven't said line here. So that is why I'm going to readdress this. And I think that this is a powerful tool because we think about, okay, I don't know if I'm done. I'm just going to add something to it and then see what happens. But this strategy is really about slowing down and helping to determine, well, maybe this piece has served its purpose, maybe just for me, maybe it's never meant to be seen in the public, or, maybe it was a great, fun play around, but it served its purpose, or maybe I'm just not finished because I haven't really communicated what it is that I want to communicate. So I'm going to work on these two with a couple different strategies to figure out how can I really explore line and its direction while keeping some variety and unity. But I want my interest to really be line. So I want to make sure that what I'm doing is not distracting from that element. So that is a really great strategy to just slow down, look, write a statement to discover what it is you're trying to get from the piece and where to go next. So this has not yet said what I need it to say. So for this strategy, we're going to remove something before we add it. And this can be really important because if you are constantly adding things, it starts to become too much. It gets a little bit overwhelming. But when you just start by editing, getting rid of something, it actually helps you as an artist become a stronger artist at recognizing what needs to be changed. But it's also clarifies a little bit. So I already knew what isn't working here. So let's just remove it. I'm not going to add anything. I'm just going to take away. I'm using a blockout white. And even though it's a blockout white, it is going to block things out. It's also thin enough that some things will come through. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to keep everything white. This is why I love a flat brush, because you can get some really nice cut-ins and edges. But it's going to remove those elements that I just feel are too busy, too much, just not working. It doesn't mean I have to remove absolutely all of it at one time. Again, just maybe that strategy of, hey, let's stop, let's assess, let's figure out, where is my eye going? What is it that I'm trying to say? Is my eye being drawn to something that I don't want it to be? So just thinking about, little bits and pieces. But if you try to do everything all at once, you're going to lose track of, what is it right now that I'm trying to accomplish and do. So I think it's better to just do one thing at a time and then walk away. And this again is, you're not sure, am I finished? So taking a little bit of time to really analyze that in lots of different ways is going to make you a stronger artist, and it's going to help you recognize the things sooner, faster. So it's really good practice. This is why I never ever throw anything away. You know, there is such a thing as a burn pile, but I just can't bring myself to do it because I feel like as a mixed media collage artist, there's always something that can be done. Nothing is ever a waste. And sometimes it just might be cutting it up and giving it as, you know, make a card and send a friend a note. You know, those kinds of things are a great use of old artwork, because there's, in every piece, there's gonna be something that you can use or something that was successful that you liked. So keeping that in mind all the time, that nothing is ever a waste, it really gives you the freedom to think about things in a different way. So this white is doing exactly what I wanted it to. It's getting rid of some of these really troubled areas that are just taking away from everything else. So removing it is already making a stronger statement, and it's giving me some really interesting, I didn't want to cover that up, some really interesting negative spaces. And I don't mind now the texture of it being different, because that texture isn't a color. It's now just kind of a hidden shape that gives it a little bit of interest, a little bit of line. So for me, that's actually working. I'm not sure if I want to cover that yet, so I'm not going to. This is so small. It's the same paper underneath that I've been covering, but it's so small, it's not bothering me right now. So I'm going to leave that, put it aside, and take this next piece. And let's look at this one. So obviously, this is a no-go. So let's just get rid of it. I like that that line is broken. Oops, is broken a little bit. That makes this a little bit more interesting, this white space, but I'm not sure if I'm going to want it to go from top to bottom the whole way. So that's something I'm going to have to think about. I was not using my brush correctly. So I got a little, that can be resolved with a Q-tip. Q-tip and a little bit of alcohol. That'll take that right off. So remember to use my brush correctly so I can get some nice crisp lines. And the bristles almost skirt right underneath where that edge is. So that's really nice. Oops, and I just went past where I wanted to go. And there we go, another mess. Let me grab a Q-tip right now. I've got a little clean water, so I'll get as much off right now as I can. This has not been sealed, so it might soak into the paper if I'm not careful. There we go, that's a little better. That's another thing, until I know I'm finished, I don't seal my work. I don't ever mount it until it's sold or has a purpose. Just because of lack of space. And again, if something isn't selling, well, that's a great opportunity to change direction, do something different with my work. We're always hopefully growing as artists, so it's really magical to come back to an old work that was finished, was resolved, and do something different with it. Now what's interesting, this composition has a lot more vertical than my other one. And I probably wouldn't have noticed it if it wasn't for me blocking out some of these areas. But I'm noticing now that these two are next to each other, that this shape kind of breaks up the verticalness. At first I liked it, but now I'm starting to see, compared to this one, and this is a beauty of working in a series, I don't like it. I feel like it's distracting. So I already know that that's going to be an area to address. Again, the beauty of working in a series is you learn from one and apply to another. There's so many good reasons for working in a series. But that's one that I really like, is when I learn something from one, being able to apply it to another is really powerful. I'm not sure about this line. I'm not sure about this line. So I'm going to leave it. I could always come back, block it out, not a problem. So this one was about subtracting, getting rid of something, stopping and assessing. And then we can look at some other strategies that we can apply. And I think that was a very successful, just blocking out and getting rid of the parts that were bothering my eye. All right, on to the next strategy. So this strategy of just adding one thing, add one thing, step away, and then reassess. So that assessment part is constantly coming back. And I have to also go back to, what was this about? This was originally about stripes or line, right? Not even just stripes, but really I'm creating a line here. So if that is my initial goal, then shape was just adding too much to it. The shapes that I have in my my papers, they don't read as loudly as those big shapes did. So I think that this is a really important element now. So I got out these papers that I had used originally, and I'm going to play with these a little bit and see what it is that will work, that will distract from those larger shapes, allow the white that I've added to sing a little bit, and I'm going to do some collage. I still need to think about differences here though. And it is possible that some of these stripes are just too much of the same size, and maybe I need to go even thinner than original and see what happens when I do that. So actually, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab a pair of scissors. Originally, I did this with a cutting board, but I'm not going to worry about perfection here, because when these lines start to get really thin, it's going to change it completely. And I hadn't used anything this thin before. So that's a nice change. And I think I'm going to break that up. Yep, I'm going to just go ahead and do that. Just going to go with the decision and put it on there. So I'm using some matte medium, which is what I used originally. So that's always good. So that's going to keep the texture and surface the same. I just want to make sure that white is not peeking out on the other side of this line. That's going to be really important. So I'm bringing that in as well. And just still using the same color scheme. I don't know why, that one just seems to work there. I think I like that. But should I go thinner? No. I think I'm not gonna go thinner because this line is so thin. I think I would like to use that thin line somewhere else. So I'm just adjusting, always assessing, thinking, what is it that I'm liking? What's working? What is keeping with my original point of view, my original idea? That was what this whole thing brought me to. I think I'm gonna bring in a very thin line of orange. Bring that out. It's got to slide down slightly. Just want to make sure it really lines up. Okay. Oh my gosh, I like this so much better already. I feel like maybe I have too many pieces that are going all the way up to the top. So that might be something I want to break up a little bit here. And what's so nice about all of this is I can just test it and see, does that do what I want it to do? I feel like that might have been too pale. Maybe I need to go a little bit darker. This was the original paper. I'm gonna say yes. I say yes and then I stop. No. Not that I hate it. No. No, that's not doing what I want. I think it's this piece that's bothering me. I almost wish I had something, maybe it's this color that I just need to bring across the whole thing. Yes, I think that does it for me. I think that's what I'm gonna bring in. Bring in this color all the way across. Okay. So instead of darker, I'm going with this light color next to it just to break up all that verticalness of the line and just have something that ends. And that is the exact same color. I think I'm gonna like that better. So that's it. I'm gonna stop there. I don't wanna work on this one too much and make it too complicated. I want to keep with my simple idea to begin with. So I'm going to put this one to the side, leave it as is. I've got this one here, which for me was really problematic. I absolutely hate this section right here. So I need to think about how I can fix that. I think actually maybe I need to go all the way to the top. I actually don't mind that this is so close in color. It has a slightly different intensity to it. This is a much brighter color than this one. And it's already doing what I need it to break up that space. So I'm gonna go with that. Again, I'm just making really quick decisions. I don't want to deliberate on this too much and just move forward. And then I can step away from it and decide, after I've had a little bit of space from the work, what else it might need, or if it is in actuality finished the way I want it to be finished. So the other part that is definitely bothering me is this part right here. So maybe I need to continue a line. I actually like that. I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna do it. No fuss, no muss. And I like that it breaks up that circle that is there as well. Oops, wrong side. Not that it matters because I'm gonna put glue on both. That also creates a thin line here, which is working for me. Got a hair. Always have my hair in something. Okay. So I'm gonna keep that and not the hair. There we go. All right, and then I feel like I liked that thin line because again, it was a whole nother difference. But I'm starting to wonder if this Does that become too much of a focal point, too much of a shape? Let's see what else I have. I actually think, I think that just creates too much of a square. See what happens if I do this. It is just slightly different. I'm just gonna go for it. So this feels too square to me. Maybe this is where I need to bring in the orange. Right here. So that it feels more like a line. Kind of like the brightness of this one. Then that cuts that off. Yeah, I'm going to bring that in. Kind of like this green. There. Okay. And I'm going to bring that in. And then I feel like I just need an end cap. I think I'll bring this color back and keep it, I'm going to go thinner. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So it's still there. You can still see some of that underpainting, and I like it. For some reason, it looks like some of the white paint has come off, so I'm going to refill that in just because I don't want it to be so textured. But for now, that is my one more thing. So I'm just going to stop right there. I hope that you can see that sometimes artworks, they arrive quickly, and sometimes artworks ask us to wait. And there's nothing wrong with waiting, with putting something aside until a later date. Sometimes the work we're working on loses its joy, or it loses its meaning for us at that moment. And maybe it just doesn't have a place in the larger picture of us as artists. And we just let them sit there quietly. Maybe they gather dust, or maybe they gather meaning. And then one day we see them just a little bit differently. But maybe finishing isn't about just getting it right, but it's about returning with more experience, with more courage, more curiosity, with a different mindset than we had before. And if this is something that gets you thinking a little bit about that pile of artwork you have gathering dust in your closet, I do have a workbook that I created, and it's just a way for me to keep revisiting these ideas. It's filled with strategies. It's filled with ways of reframing our thinking about abandoned works and how to come back from some of those failures and struggles and what that actually means. And if that interests you, I would love for you to have it. It's free. I have tons of free resources on my website for you to take at your will. So please feel free to check that out. And if these are ideas that get you wanting to think more deeply about your play, practice, and process, I would love for you to join me in my membership for artists called the Paste and Paper Playground. All that information is below, but honestly, I'm just happy that you're here with me today, and I hope that you'll stay tuned. So bye for now.